Hello and welcome to Let's Talk About It. My name is Mary and thank you for staying with us tonight and watching this podcast. As you know, this is a monthly podcast that we do, since it's monthly, obviously we're doing it once monthly, and we're talking about different topics related to online education and online schooling. And tonight we have a pretty common topic, but we are going to dive into some different areas as well, because our guest tonight is Education Worldwide teacher Sergio. Sergio, welcome.
Hello, it's nice to be here.
Okay, thank you for joining us for this episode. We've been waiting for your coming into this podcast for so long, but finally all things came together and now you're here. So how do you feel?
Well, honestly, it's a little bit scary. It's the first time I do these kind of activities. But yeah, I'm happy to be here and have this little conversation with you guys.
Okay, great.
I'm scared, sorry, I'm just jumping in.
Yeah, Anita is jumping in, but because Anita is a co-host, so Anita, welcome.
Thank you, Mary. Welcome, Sergio.
Thanks.
I was just going to say how everyone is always
Nervous? Yeah.
I don't know why.
I know.
We're not scary. We're not scary.
No, it's not about that.
Scary.
Like it's the place itself. Like when you're not in front of a computer, the laptop, the camera. So
Oh, you don't have a camera and a laptop in front of you, so yeah, that's the difference. Well, okay, we will try to make it as comfortable as it can be. Okay, so Sergio, tell me, to start this conversation, tell me why did you decide to be a teacher? Was it something that naturally came to you, or like a dream that you fulfilled since you were a child, or something that just life threw in front of you? How did that came to be?
Okay, I mean that's a tricky question, honestly, because at the very beginning, I have to tell you, my mother, she is a teacher.
Oh.
So from day one, I was seeing how she was working with kids. She was teaching, if I recall correctly, grade 3 students while I was still in grade 1. So I was, joining her classes sometimes. I was seeing her work. But I didn't want to be a teacher because of that. I saw the responsibilities she had to do, the challenges she had to face. So at the very beginning, I wanted to do something else. I think at one point I wanted to be either a doctor or work in advertisement or something like that. But then life happened, and then it made me change my perspectives, and I wanted to do. So here I am.
Okay, well, you're doing a great job, if I may add, as a teacher.
Oh, okay.
I mean, in life you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, so far things are working out, so yeah, I cannot complain.
Well, your teaching experience also goes beyond online education, and you worked as a teacher in a traditional school setting. I have to ask you, what is the biggest challenge for you as a teacher in an online environment?
I think that many of my students would say, and because they have experienced that I try to joke a lot in my classes. So it's very difficult to have this level of connection that you would do with your students if you were sharing a physical space. But at the same time, I think thanks to technology and thanks to their cooperation, we are creating a very nice environment. So I think it's still different, and I miss that. I miss the ability to, I don't know, as simple as a high five sometimes.
Yes.
But hey, we do our best, and I'm happy to be doing this.
Through the webcam.
Through the webcam.
Well,
how do you high five? What's the substitution of high five in an online environment?
No, I
you
just don't do
won't
that
share
anymore.
Isn't there something on Zoom where you can put your hand up?
Yeah,
or
those
something?
reactions.
Yeah,
those reactions.
So
but
there's a virtual.
no,
No.
it's not the same. It's not the same. There's this button to raise your hand if you want to participate, but
Yeah.
that's it. That's pretty much it. I wouldn't do the high five. No.
That's kind of
So how do you compliment a student when they do something great, and you would give them a high five if you were in the shared space? What do you do?
Well,
There's an applause button.
well, there's a reaction that does that exactly, but no, it's more of a, say something positive. Sometimes some of our students they have different backgrounds and they have different interests. So I think it's always a good idea to be nice to them, to tell them, hey, you did a good job, or simply, a simple nod would be nice.
Yes.
I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm very rigid in that sense,
Strict,
but
right.
hey, they know they do a good job because of the time we share.
Oh, we have a verification here about everything that you just said. It's our student Nahla, your student actually.
Yo.
She says, hello, Mr. Sergio. I'm a student in Mr. Sergio's class and it's always fun and interesting. True, we're always laughing. So now you have to tell us how your classes actually look like, because although you are a head of middle school department, the fate decided that most of your students are actually in high school, so you're also a high school teacher. So can you give us a behind-the-scene look into the atmosphere on your classes, and how do you try to keep things interesting and fun, yet to maintain that learning atmosphere there?
Considering the system we have, like many of our students, they are doing their program at different stages, It's very normal to have a student doing first semester work just like fresh from just registered lesson 1, module 1. And then in the same class we have someone from semester B or about to finish their whole school year. So in that case, it's difficult. It's difficult to expect people to be interested in the same things. In that case, I feel like the best thing I can do is start by asking, hey, how's everything? How are you doing? Sometimes if time allows, I check on everyone to see progress. And after that, well, most of the times I do like to prepare a little game. It's common practice in regular teaching to have a warm-up activity, a little game, something that to break. Exactly. An icebreaker that will allow you to connect with some students, because, well, we're human beings, both teachers and students. So sometimes I have a bad day. Sometimes my students have had a bad day. So it's difficult. So a little game, and then with a little activity, either a presentation or a video, do something to have them engaged and participate and learn something. Trust me, there are sometimes students who can be middle school, high school, and it's never a bad idea to review the basics. Sometimes I'm a language arts teacher, so it's very fun to see do you guys remember these that you studied before? No, I don't. Okay, we can use our time to review that. So it's good.
Okay, so the atmosphere is relaxing. That's really nice to know. And you mentioned that you didn't say quizzes, let's call them icebreakers, but I also know that you use debates and stuff like that on your classes, just to engage students more. And in education worldwide, we usually, consultants are usually telling families that are about to enroll their child into our school that the classes are entertaining and they involve students, so a student is not just a passive listener. So can you give us an insight how that looks like these engaging methodologies that you use, what works the best with the high school students, because we know that high school students are hard to impress with some topics and stuff like that. So
it is true, sometimes it's difficult to have, especially high schoolers, to have them engaged, to be engaged with the topic you're discussing. And that's why having these debates is the perfect chance to challenge them, to share their ideas, to even disagree with some things that they feel they're very strongly opinionated towards. So yeah, I like proposing some ideas and some topics that I am sure that will generate some reaction from them. And also, once again, many of our students, they have this. They're either shy or they're not comfortable with speaking out and sharing their opinions. I think the perfect chance to do it is with these debates, online. Yeah, you don't have the pressure to be face to face. You will not be, I wouldn't say judged, but looked down upon. It's kind of a safer area, a safe space to do this. And yeah, it's interesting to see sometimes what the things they come up with. You wouldn't expect a student to know this or to have an opinion on that topic. So yeah, debates are good and I like them. Plus, it's good for them to be able to later on write something down, and they will be asked to write essays later on in higher education levels, college, university. So I think it's a perfect chance to do it. Practice here with us. It's safe.
And how they react? I mean, obviously they're accepting the game and everything, you know. But did you notice some big changes in students' behavior? Did you notice that maybe somebody who used to be shy is now more open and willing to share their own opinion on a certain topic, or if somebody improved, I don't know, their abilities to explain their own idea or way they think or stuff like that? So
improvement. It is a slow process sometimes. When a student, maybe, of course, here we're talking about language proficiency, how comfortable someone is expressing themselves in English, you know. When that happens, the most important thing is to be able to read the mood, to read how they feel, to get to know your students. If you know that they're not that comfortable speaking out, if you know that this thing happens and they feel this way, it takes time. You cannot force someone to speak at the same level as someone who's very comfortable sharing like what they think. You need to give them their own time and then pace the opportunities. In my classes, I try to do that. Like, there's a group of students that always shares their opinions and they're very friendly, and then there is someone who doesn't do it that much. It's okay. Sometimes if a student wants to start by just listening, that's perfectly fine. Again, as I mentioned, it's a process and they need to pace themselves, and you need, as a teacher, you need to be able to identify that. That's your role.
Yeah, that's really great what you said, because, you know, I think that we maybe sometimes push that talking part too much, and maybe some parents who have shy kids are a little bit skeptical whether or not their child is going to adapt, but obviously there's place for everyone. And Sergio, we have another student of yours. It's Kiki Hartwell, who says, "Hi, Mr. Sergio," with
Hello.
several eyes.
Hi.
Hello.
And Nahla again says, "Me," regarding something that you just talked about, probably the kid who talks a lot, right?
No, I mean, I don't want to say any names, but like they know who they are.
Okay,
I'm thankful.
Okay, I love that. Okay, so both Kiki and Nahla, thank you for watching us. And if you have any questions for Mr. Sergio that you want to ask him publicly, you can do that now. And of course, feel free to jump in
stories that you want to
and share anything with us in the comment section. But again, thank you for watching, and not just you, but to everyone who's watching us. Feel free to ask any questions in the comment section. Doesn't really have to be about online classes. It can be anything related to education worldwide. Someone will answer your questions. And of course, if you don't have a question, you can always tell us from which country are you looking us from, and if you have experience with our school, you can share that experience in the comment section. We are willing to hear what you have to say. So, but let's move on. Okay, Anita, do you have any question for Sergio? I started talking like one of those kids who talk all the time.
Actually, I wanted to ask, just to get back to that point, because in consultations as well, new families, they're always asking, you know, if they have a child that's a little bit shy or not comfortable with like speaking or turning on their camera straight away, how do you go about doing that? Because I always tell them, no, they don't have to have their camera on, they don't have to have their microphone on, but just as long as we know that they're there, until they get more comfortable with starting to answer questions or getting involved in group discussions. In your experience, how long has a child or a student, I don't want to say child, I want to say child, but has a student kind of taken to get to that point where they want to be engaged in the class?
There are many things to consider in that case, because
like each student is different, I understand.
Absolutely.
That. Yeah. But specifically, were there any kind of moments where you're like, wow, I can't believe this kid actually has switched on their camera after so long, or switched on their microphone after so long? And
well, there have been students and situations in which they have done that. They've turned their camera on and they've participated. But it's difficult because, as you mentioned before, like many and every student is different.
Yeah.
Even a group of students who are very friendly and they have a good time together and they hang out, even among them,
Yeah.
you see differences. I think the first step to be able to see this process is for parents to be aware of their kids' abilities and their the kids' limitations.
Yeah.
Because sometimes some students are very comfortable, like very vocal about everything, their opinions, their dreams, their goals. But some others are more reserved and even shy.
Yeah.
That's something that
Comes with time, of course.
it comes with time, it comes with patience. It needs to be something, as we mentioned in our program, it's a self-paced program, and we cannot force our students to, hey, turn your camera on, you
Yeah,
need
of
to
course.
join. I have very smart students, very, very smart students who rarely speak, they rarely open their mic, but they use the chat box and they give amazing opinions.
Yeah.
And that's all right. That's
Yeah.
also their prerogative, you know, like they are able to do that.
Yeah. And that's what we tell families all the time as well, is that, you know, if they don't want to show their face or voice their opinion, they have alternatives. They can write on the chat, they can email you, they can email their peers, they can write on the platform, all of that. So there are ways around doing all of that. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, they also have our support as tutors.
Yeah.
Like we're there to help them, to provide the perfect opportunities and spaces to practice. They can also, as you mentioned, send us an email, get in touch with us, and we are going to do our best to, you know, help every student to reach their potential.
Absolutely,
You know.
Yeah, I have questions. I even raised a hand.
Yes, Mary.
I felt like neglected here, not included in the conversation. No, for real. Like when you mentioned that, you know, students can send questions and send emails and reach out to their teacher. I mean, for some of them, this online learning environment is still a new thing, and they're not familiar with how everything works, even though we explain to their parents or to them directly and stuff like that. How often does it happen to you that they actually reach out when they have, for example, did you have situations where a student learns individually, it doesn't matter the grade, learns individually on the platform, stumbles upon a problem, it's stuck somewhere and reaches out first before you noticed on the platform that they have a problem? Does it happen to you? You know, did you have like experience with those kinds of students?
Countless. Yeah, I think that's one of the first things that they should know, and we all of us tutors, we tell them that, like in case you need any help, reach out. We're here to help you. Yeah, of course, they send emails like, hey, something happened with the platform, this is not loading, or hey, can you help me? I don't understand why I got this score. Why did I lose these many points? So yeah, I mean, it's quite common, and yeah, I mean, when that happens, I reply, send emails. Even sometimes, like I even offer, like, hey, do you want to have a quick meeting, a quick class? I wouldn't call it class, just a short meeting, but it's just a way to catch up, to find out how they're doing, and to see, like, to avoid any future difficulties. So yes, it's common.
That's great. I mean, because they are actually reaching out and trying to solve the situation. Because I remember in the beginning, you know, students were like, "Oh, we are left alone. We don't have anybody to help us." When they actually didn't, you know, maybe contact their assigned tutor and try to solve the problem. Because even if they want to join the class, they're the ones who have to book the class. You know, you have to book the participation in group class, or if it's individual class, it comes to you. So I'm interested to hear your opinion. Group classes or individual classes? Although I know the answer will depend depending on what type of student we're talking about. But from your point of view, I mean, forget about the question that I asked. What do you like more, group classes or individual classes as a teacher?
What I like?
Yeah, what do you like?
I like
more?
group classes, actually. I like group classes because we get to play around the class and around the topics we want to cover, you know. Right now I'm a little bit like nervous and shy, but I think that the group classes, it's kind of like our virtual classroom, you know, and in my experience, like that's my space. That's where I get comfortable. That's a place where I kind of have control of my own emotions and what I want to do. So, of course, like a one-on-one meeting is good, but I see it more as a space, time to solve problems and you know, doubts. You know, hey, I want to do this, I want to fix this, I want to change this. Okay, cool. But the group class is the actual class. Is when you get to see people for who they are in a group, you know, in society somehow. It's this microcosmos when you see like, oh, she is very smart, but a little bit reserved, or he's a little bit nervous, but he's very smart, or this person or that person does this or that. So it's cool, and I like it, and I get to bring interesting things for people, and I see more reactions. I like it because of that.
In
actually,
group class, great. That's actually the first time we had a teacher who explained which classes they like the better and why. I mean, usually our teachers usually saying that they like both classes because, you know, individual classes are good for this. You have like a really valid reason where you actually really enjoy your group classes as well. I mean, I think that's the point, actually. Don't make a class that's boring for you if you want to keep it interesting for students as well. Okay, so Nahla says Mr. Sergio uses satires a lot, so yeah.
What does he use a lot?
And Kiki confirms true. Satire, sorry, my voice and my language today are not working properly.
satire, huh?
Okay, so we have here students who are actually revealing something that you're hiding from us, that you didn't want to reveal. So you want to tell us something else about the classes before they start speaking, or
Before the truth actually comes out.
It's okay. I mean, I have nothing to hide.
you have nothing to hide?
Satire. Well, yeah. Honestly, I do. Many of my students will tell you that. Like, will tell you that I try to connect with my students in a way that, as you mentioned before, like it's funny for them and it's funny for me. And yeah, you could say that I get very satirical sometimes with them. Yeah, no, seriously, I do. But why do I do it? Because this works with high school students. You know, you cannot just bring your presentation or the topic you want to talk about and that's it. You need to make it interesting and you know, like in a way challenge them. Like at that age, students really need to see that they've been tested because you know, like we all went through that. And we all wanted to prove ourselves, like we are not kids anymore, we are smart and we can do everything. And the best, well, the one I consider the best way to do it is to challenge them. And to challenge someone, sometimes you have to, you know, get a little bit satirical to give it a name.
That's great. Okay, can you tell us, I mean, you're a language arts tutor and teacher, and we have students from all around the world, and naturally English is not their native language. Can you tell us what are some of the common barriers that they're running into when it comes to language? Did you maybe notice that a student is actually really smart and intelligent but doesn't really know the language good so that they can express themselves? And how do you help them, you know, overcome all these barriers? Like, is there anything outside of the classes, like maybe an advice that you give them on how to improve in different areas of their language skills? Well,
that's somehow related to what we were talking about before. Pacing, you know, some students are very smart and they're well read and they are really curious about things in general. But then you face that, like, oh, okay, they are struggling with the language. They cannot, the speed that their brains are working cannot match their ability to communicate in their language. In that case, yeah, I mean, once again, it's our role as tutors to identify that kind of people, those students who would benefit from different strategies. You know, I'm very glad that our platform offers like the opportunity to have like these written discussions. And they can also record their voices and, like, you know, they will take the time to elaborate, to prepare a script and to deliver it as a voice recording. Or they can also bring it in classes, you know, like one-on-one classes are also helpful for that. So I really advise every student that can be experiencing this to use our tools. Like you have the platform tools, you have your one-on-one tutoring sessions, you have group classes, now we have club meetings. So I advise them to use all of those tools. Absolutely, they will really benefit from it.
Great. That's great advice, and I hope that some parents and students are listening and taking the advantage of all this information that Sergio just mentioned, because that's actually the key to successfully end the grade, to use all the tools that you have at your disposal. Okay, but let's go back to middle school, if we can. Okay, so I know for a fact that some parents, who are applying from Europe, they're not familiar with the concept of middle school, because in some European countries it's usually all called elementary school or primary school. So can you give us an introduction into what middle school is and what grades does it cover, actually?
Okay. Middle school would cover well, it depends sometimes, because it could include grade 5 or it could not include it. So let's, for the sake of simplifying things, we can say that it would cover grades 5, 6, 7, and 8. Middle school is like that transition, thank you very much, that transition from like elementary school, where you are just learning the basics and you are starting to get comfortable with the educational system, into high school, which more complex topics, with more challenges, with more responsibilities. So middle school is important in that sense, because the role that teachers and tutors have there, it's kind of like a formational one. Like we're teaching our kids to like start being more responsible or more aware of the challenges that are coming. Not only in that particular moment, middle school, but also high school and onwards. Like it's the point when students realize, like, oh, this studying thing, it involves responsibility. I need to be, I am in charge of my own process. I think that if we are able to get students to realize that, and they move forward to high school and they know that they are the ones responsible of these things, it's going to be a successful stage in their lives.
Great, thank you. Great explanation about middle school as well. I think we should use it in some article or something like that on our website, because you explained it pretty nicely, how things work in middle school. Speaking of that, with middle school, students are getting like more serious when it comes to learning material and everything. Like, I mean, just more. They're studying more complex concepts comparing to what they did in elementary school. Like, do you have some advice for them on how to approach that? Like, is it just give yourself a time, or invest more time, or what is some advice that you can give to a student who is, maybe used to that elementary school tempo when they didn't have to learn a lot, and now they're coming and learning something, which is more complex? And
I think what they can do is to take it easy, honestly, because for many of us, change is scary. Change is scary, and we are afraid of all the things, that the new topics, the new subject, new activities, new things, everything. I would like them to know that it's going to be okay. For both parents and students, it's the best thing is to keep working, keep doing your best, ask for help when needed, and constantly keep communication both ways. Whenever something happens, whenever you get confused, whenever you are in doubt, just let us know. We're here to help. Something I tell many of my students, individual of course, and group classes definitely, is the fact that, well, sadly, and despite of all the technological advances we have nowadays, we cannot read minds yet. So that's why
they have to be.
I cannot, at least.
I've been telling all of our students that you can. So this is, I'm sorry.
That explains
guys.
a lot of confusion. But my point is, we cannot. My point is, we cannot We cannot read your mind. So it's very good if you let us know whenever something happens, if you send us an email, if you reach out. We have different channels to do that. We have the platform internal message, we have emails, we have social network. You can use all of that. Let us know and we can help you.
Great. Okay, so Sergio, can you explain what's thinking corner in a class? Because Kiki says that Nahla got sent to the thinking corner in a class.
I know
These kids are amazing.
That used to be a thing, like a naughty corner, but Sergio's, I think, included.
He's changing everything.
The thinking corner.
You're the innovator of online education.
This is great.
Online
Secrets are coming.
I mean, I knew what I was getting into when I accepted to be here, so it's okay. It's okay. The thinking corner. Okay. Okay. You know that when you have a class in Zoom, you have the ability to let people in. Like they are in the waiting room, so you click on admit. Absolutely. When I see that, for example, one of my students is not paying attention, because sometimes it happens, like a student just maybe for some reason. No. Like sometimes I know that we said like, okay, it's okay to turn off your camera, it's okay to be mute sometimes, and to be honest, I do expect some level of interaction. Like I don't mind that you are not speaking, that you are not showing yourself. I respect it. Like we are all entitled to our privacy. But if I ask you a question and nobody says anything, nothing happened, I'll be like, okay, maybe something happened to our connection. So I just click on send to the waiting room, and then I click back on admit. Sometimes it works.
Okay.
So the waiting room is the thinking corner.
Well, they are sent there to think about it, to reconsider
to think
things.
about the question or think about what they've done.
Think about the question I asked them. Thank you very much. That's a very nice way to put it.
That's a new one. Okay, great. I was always thinking, like, what are the new excuses? Because for us who used to go to traditional schools, you're like, I'm sorry, I'm late for the class. Like my bus was late, or I don't know anything. Like, what's the excuses that online students are giving? Do you have any interesting anecdote, like something that they say, like why they're late for class or why they didn't even show up for a class, and it was really funny.
Okay.
If someone has used, like, I don't know, my dial-up connection was taking too long, I think I might just cry, because
I don't know if they're familiar with the dial-up connection. So.
It's like when you hear that noise.
There are the realistic excuses and the ones that sound completely made up. Realistic excuses, of course, could be there's a thunderstorm and there's no internet, or there's it's difficult to join the class. Another one that I didn't know and I heard recently was, I don't know if it was an excuse or an actual issue, and was the fact that this student was using a Chromebook, and Chromebook, the Zoom app doesn't run well on Chromebook. So that was like, hey, sorry, it's having some issues. Those are realistic somehow. You could understand, okay, there are some things that you cannot control, they're unavoidable, But yeah, I've heard, I never got this link, or something happened, my booking got canceled by itself. I'm like, that doesn't happen. Or let me think actually.
Do you want us to put you in the thinking room?
No, don't send me to the waiting room. No,
we don't have a thinking room in a podcast, but
that doesn't work face to face.
Oh yeah, it can only happen online.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, you can pick a corner and we can just
put you there to think about it, what students said or didn't said. Well, once again, thank you both, Kiki and Nahla, for sharing this. If you have more, please keep them coming. We have whole night ahead of us. Oh, okay. So, break. Let's go back to middle school again. So,
we keep going off tangent with middle school.
yeah, we promised the middle school topic, but you know what? I think that people are having fun, or at least we are having fun. We don't care about people watching.
Even if it's...
Okay, so can you give us an example from your, from the side of a teacher, if a student was learning, I don't know, 2 hours individually per day in lower grades in elementary school, Do you have like some advice for parents of how much time their kids need to spend doing things on the platform individually when they're in middle school, and how much do you advise your high school students to work individually on the platform?
Okay, let me tell you, to be able to do that, you as a parent need to be or need to know what your kid is actually doing. So that's my first advice. Like, if you're a parent and you have your kid, don't expect your kid to be like 100% of the time working on the platform. It's happened way too many times that some parents tell me like, oh, my son has been working for 4 hours every day. And then you check like,
playing
no.
video games, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing, like be aware of how long, or like how long is the actual working time. You know, like besides that, I would say that 3 hours, it would be a good amount because of the number of activities, the number of assignments and discussions and everything. A 3-hour session would be more than enough. Besides, if a student is joining group classes, like virtually, or individual meetings, that adds up, and you don't want to overwhelm students. So I think a 3-hour session per day, working like, again, paying attention to what your kid is doing, would be more than enough.
Oh, great. And sorry, I think we have another. Oh no, it's not a question. It was previous message. I thought it was another, not question actually. It was a statement and revealing of secrets. But to be fair, you warned us that you have some students that might be able to jump in.
I did warn you.
But
disappoint
yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did. I mean,
It's fun.
The students
Yeah.
love you, so the thinking corner is doing something, right?
But I like the concept of thinking corner. Honestly, I do. I was really wondering how other teachers are solving that problem. And when you have a student who is like maybe misbehavior or doesn't pay attention, like how do you give them a timeout actually to to refocus themselves on a class?
Give them time to think about the question.
That's really great. Okay, so in elementary and middle school, students have 4 core subjects, and they do have the option of taking up to 2 elective subjects. They're not obliged to do so. But in high school, they very much have to take 2 or even 4 throughout the entire school year, basically. So many parents are actually like, oh no, we don't want to overburden our children with taking electives in elementary school. But I'm curious to hear your opinion for middle school. Would you advise students to take on electives, not just because they are fun and interesting, but just to gain that experience of being able to learn more than 4 subjects in a school year? And what are your opinion on elective subjects at all?
In middle school, they are not required to take them, but I feel like if a student doesn't choose and doesn't work on any of the multiple elective classes we offered, they would be missing out. It's always a good idea to, from that age, to start opening your options to many things, to experience different things. And it's really convenient that they wouldn't have the pressure to like you are required to complete this to move forward to the next grade. They have that flexibility, and I think that's something that we as a school we rely on. Hey, middle school, you can choose this foreign language, or you can choose this science elective or science-related elective. You're free to choose whatever you want. And as long as you, again, keep in touch with us as tutors, as consultants, as the whole team, we can do the best for you. And we can help you if, hey, my son is struggling with this elective. Okay, no problem. We can switch it. Of course, within reason. We can take care of those things. And I think middle school is the perfect, let's call it the perfect playground to experience these things.
Great.
Good that you said that, because I wanted to also touch base on that, because it's a good way to kind of get them prepared for high school, because they're taking on more than 4 subjects. They're getting used to the fact that they have core subjects that they have to do. It's part of the curriculum, but then they also have the choice. and the playground to see what their interests are. So when it comes to high school, they're already thinking about, okay, this is something that I might want to do in the future or in college, and maybe I want to do some electives in that department or something like that. So playground is the best way you could have put it, actually.
So middle school is basically a playground for high school.
Well,
or
yeah.
training ground.
Yeah, but
for,
don't
for high school.
don't tell our students that word because it can get
Sorry,
confusing.
you didn't hear that from me or in this podcast. Pay attention to something
Our
else.
experiment.
The sandbox environment.
Yeah, a sandbox environment, very good.
Well, okay, so do you guys have anything else to add? Is there something that we didn't ask you and you would like to say? Because now that you're here, you have all the freedom in the world to say to the world something that you want to.
Well, there's only one thing that I would like to share here, and it's our job as teachers is not only teachers and tutors and consultants as a team, of course, is not only to help you complete your school year or to get your high school diploma. We are also here to help you and to be like support for you. You know, if right now you are struggling with something like a situation that you feel like you are not in control of, something that you feel is bigger than you, know that we're here to help. Okay, like we are not only here to like feed you knowledge and feed you content. We're also here to be a part of your life. You know, like because I know that many of our students went through some hard, difficult times during a pandemic or nowadays other situations. So just know that we're here to help and we're here to support you the best we can.
Well, that's a great great thing to say. Thank you, Sergio. And before we wrap this episode up, I would just like to invite you to ask any questions that you might have, because we're here for a couple of more minutes. And during those minutes, I'm going to ask Anita to discuss with me some new interesting things in education worldwide, like the Prime program, so many extracurricular clubs and activities. Can you mention? Let's start with the Prime program. We have some. We talked about it in our last podcast. They can rewatch the show. But just to mention to those who are watching us now, what grades are included now in the Prime program?
So now we are doing. I mean, we've had our elementary from K to 5, but we haven't actually had a K class, so I think from grades 1 to 5. Now we're also doing grades 6, 7 and 8, so we're covering middle school Prime, which I think is going to be amazing because middle school, they're already at that age where they're more comfortable, nothing's foreign for them. They're all very like tech savvy, they know what to do on the platform, but also they have those little friendship groups and they like talking and discussing things and all of that. So we will be having Prime for not just elementary, but middle school as well. So
that's you.
Yeah, that's you.
Okay, so the information about the Prime program is on our website, but you can also get in touch with your assigned consultant and ask them for details in case you want to transfer from the regular program to the Prime program. The Prime program starts in September, and it's pretty much different from our classic online schooling because it's not self-paced, as Sergio mentioned several times for our classic schooling program. It's group-based because students learn in group classes that are organized Monday to Friday with a very fixed schedule that encompasses, I think, around 20 to 25 classes per week, depending in which grade students are. And the second interesting thing is a lot of extracurricular activities that we incorporated in previous couple of months. Anita, can you help me to mention some of the clubs that we currently have?
Actually, I'll start off by saying we not only have like one club session per club per week, but there's I think 2. So they have like morning and afternoon. So people from whichever time zone you're from, you can join the extracurricular clubs. We have gaming, we have photography as well.
Yes.
We have
book
and like a debating club as well.
Yeah, writing club, music
yeah.
club, a lot of interesting things where students can
Actually,
explore.
the music club.
Yes?
Teacher Doris, she was covering it, and she was in our office the other day, and Tammy and I kind of joined in, and it was fun.
Okay,
so I think it was more fun for us than the students. But it's definitely something that our students should sign up for, and just because you have that socialization where you don't have to talk about schoolwork and kind of relax and have fun.
I mean, gaming club, come on. Somebody's playing games, video games
have
during
you
the school hours.
Have you heard Luke?
Yeah. Okay, so great. So again, the information about the extracurricular activities can also be found on our website, and the link to our website you can find in the description of this video. So if there are no questions, and there are no any questions in the comment section, I would like to thank you all for watching us. Please share this episode to somebody who might find it useful. Like our YouTube channel, because we will see you in sometimes in March. Okay, enjoy the evening. Bye.